All right. He said all right. So let's get started. So yeah, I just wanted to start off on sort of a fun little note to get things going in the right direction. Today I'm going to be doing the first Production Hackers podcast. I'm Sharif from productionhackers.net, and the book we're going to be reviewing this time on the book review podcast numero uno is a book by maybe a guy you've heard about. He's a digital marketer called Russell Brunson. He teaches all about using sales funnels online, and he has his own sales funnels system that people can use as well. So anyway, I finished reading his book. It's a great book. I actually say it right off the bat. But I'm going to give my perspective on it to someone who's known about this kind of stuff, like the digital marketing. I've kind of been somewhat following it for like 10 years almost. And just through as a byproduct of working with certain people, especially like starting from like around 10 years ago. And then I kind of got back into it on my own only for a few years. Like I did it for about a year I was into it actually just like a few months very intensely. And then I was kind of out of it. And then like about maybe a year or two later, I started to get back into it. And then gradually got deeper and deeper and became more of a thing that I did more often instead of like a part-time thing, more something I came to know more deeper. So and it kind of relates to other stuff I do, online and stuff. But enough about me. This is about Russell Brunson and his book. And I want to say that, like, honestly, like, it's basically a free, well, it's not really free book. I mean, that's how he puts it out there. He's a very, very ingenious guy. You have to pay the shipping. I mean, you don't have to pay probably what the book is worth. Like, I'm not trying to sell this, I swear. I'm not an affiliate with this guy or anything. I don't get paid like nothing. This is just a review, and I want to keep the reviews like that so that they're honest. But I honestly think it could be worth much more than you have to pay for it. But I think it's part of his, it's a similar thing to, Gary Vaynerchuk, where he has his book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook, right? Where he's given a lot for free in advance or for much less than it should really cost. Like, I'm just trying to say that the value that you get in the book is incredibly high considering how low the cost or the buy-in fee. Now then again, there is a caveat, which is he literally is implementing the principles in his own book when he gets the book to you and his other products, and the proof is in the pudding. So if he sells you on it, or if he sold you on it before, or something other product or whatever, there's a reason why he's able to do that, especially if you're interested in this field. Maybe you're new to this field, you don't really know a lot about digital marketing, it's just, you don't know who this Russell Brunson guy is, you just kind of want to hear a review about a book, Production Hackers, or me, but, or maybe you are really into this stuff and you are very interested, about this stuff, and you want another perspective on this book, maybe you've already read it, or you're planning on reading it. Anyway, so it's fantastic. I want to break down how he breaks down in the book so that we can get a thorough thing going on here. That's the fun part about podcasts, right? You can go thorough, you can go deep. So so here he got his section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5. So it's only, and the section 5 is quite short, but he does give some very valuable tips. It's a lot of punch in there, a lot of bang for the buck in there. So the first one is creating your mass movement. He talks about what makes a leader, why people get attracted to certain leaders and that kind of stuff. You got section 2, it's creating belief. And here he talks about kind of overcoming all the hurdles people have, let's say psychologically or even technically, and other issues that might prevent a person from, being convinced about whatever it is you're trying to offer, your message, your mission, or whatever it is. And then the next thing is your moral obligation. So this is where he explains how you offer it exactly. So after you've already passed the hurdles of, getting people over all the negative, pessimistic, or even just uncertainties. It might not even be negative, just some technical issues. Let's say, am I qualified for this, or what if this situation was to happen? So once he gets over all of that stuff psychologically that we all find in the sales process, he goes into how you actually offer the product or your service, and what he's found to be effective, and so on. And a lot of this is data driven. It's actually based on sales he's actually made, and also people who have used his principles and his kind of techniques and all that stuff. So, and then the last section, well, I call it the last section is 5, but 4 is the last section that actually has, like, here you go, 5 secrets per or more per chapter here. And so yeah, this is the funnels, and this is really what the book is all leading towards. And it's just basically he's talking about how this all comes into practice, like how you take everything that you learn in this book and put it into practice, and it's really nice like that. And then he tells you, he does like a brief part about getting traffic, because what's the point of having a sales funnel if you don't have traffic? And well, thankfully I'll be teaching you how to do that here at Production Hackers with a book in the works on how to get 10,000 or so followers every 2 months. Some people will do a little bit better than that, and some people maybe do not quite as good, but if you follow all the steps, you get around that result. And I think for some people, let's say you're, for example, let's say you are a cute kitten, then you're probably going to do a lot better more easily with the same exact techniques. So anyway, but that's for Twitter. And yeah, it's fantastic right now. Twitter is doing very well. I would say within right now and for another maybe couple of years, it's a really good time. I think if you start any later than that, it might be a little too late. I'm not sure. Who knows? The way that I see things, it's been pretty consistent. So, but we'll see. Anyway, so back onto the book. So yeah, like, it's really fantastic. I'm just going to go off the top here. He goes into quite a few concepts that are really fantastic, and a lot of these he offers them for free in his advertisements and his videos, and that's part of like what he's teaching how to do. A lot of it is similar to Gary Vaynerchuk in that he's given you a lot at the front, but the difference between a guy like him and a Gary Vaynerchuk is he does these online seminars. Seminars on the internet, also known as webinars. You may already know about those, you may not, but basically an online like lesson or seminar, or either a stage talk or a kind of lesson talk in front of a whiteboard or some kind of notepad or something of that sort, and basically teaches you about why he's doing what he's doing. What does it mean to you? How it's going to change the situation that's not desirable for you, that you are facing, and turn it into a completely different new situation that's all better. And he basically shows you how to present that to people, and why psychologically people are going to follow that over someone else. And a lot of it has to do with telling stories that people can relate to, and it kind of unlocks the same thing in them that happened to you when you went through that story. He calls it the Epiphany Bridge. Sorry, I totally messed that up. Epiphany Bridge. Yeah. So with this Epiphany Bridge story, it's like you're basically going through the story that led you to that aha moment, and then what happened after that, like the positive outcome and how things changed, after you realized this and, you found the solution. When whatever your message is, and I really, like, you can look at previous videos on Production Hackers, or listen to previous audio segments and all that prior to this podcast, and you can see for yourself that I talk about integrity, I talk about honesty. Like a lot of these techniques and stuff, you can use them for selfish purposes and to trick people. But over the I'm more of a long run kind of guy. Okay, I'm not a what's it called, take their money and run type of person. I'm rather the kind who likes a long term sort of outlook on the business. With the relationship with the customers, for example, or partners, or anyone really who that's going to be involved. You want to treat as precious, and you don't want to just scam them, or you don't want to poison them. You don't want to. I mean, there's some companies I feel that it's like they just prey on people's addictions and addictive tendencies and so on, just to kind of. But I don't know. That's another discussion, of course. But yeah, I'm just trying to say that whatever you do, you want to make sure that you have that integrity. And this is my personal view. And not that Russell doesn't say anything about that. I'm just saying that just from here, because we're talking about these kinds of things which can be quite powerful, and I want to make sure that my outlook is clear when I'm talking about this kind of stuff. So he goes over lots of different things. He talks about paradigm of being prolific. He has his own way of defining prolific. Usually we define prolific in a very dry way. Just you created a lot. Those are like but of course there's other definitions, but that's usually the first one that comes to mind in the prefrontal cortex or what have you. So front of your head. So he basically has his own definition, and he is very interesting. He talks about how, and actually another guy who I learned from as well. I've learned a lot of his free and his paid stuff, his lessons and stuff. He's a really big book guy. That's Tai Lopez, who you've probably seen advertised thoroughly online. But if you're interested in that space and you actually listen to what he has to say, you realize there is something to learn. I mean, you learn that he's using what's called cognitive biases by Charlie Munger, and one of them is kind of making you feel like you want what he has, if he does, shows you his car and stuff. But he's not, like, when you learn more about him, he's not doing it because he's just trying to show off or trying to take advantage of people. He actually loves that stuff. Like, he loves his car or whatever. Just not a lot of people are, well, I guess if you could have a Lamborghini, maybe you would be into it. But the whole point is a lot of people are not even close to that level, and that's why I think a lot of people get intimidated. But anyway, I'm going off track. I'm just saying that this guy, he's not the only one who talks about this kind of stuff, and that's why I'm trying to say there's parallels between all these different minds who are doing very well in business. And you cannot deny, if they're making millions of dollars in sales, you might say, oh, it's because they're doing something wrong or evil or nefarious or whatever. But if you're so pure and good, why don't you find a way to, or maybe not from them, or maybe from someone else, but learn somehow that you can earn an income and for yourself, and then you could do really good things in that situation. When you leveling the playing field, maybe you could learn from someone who's gained the income in a different way. I mean, these people, at least from my perspective, are not doing a bad thing, because I already have a very much as you might call it, a red pill mentality. So I understand very much what they're doing at a deeper level. I understand that they're kind of providing an alternative to the education, yet they're doing it in a very powerful way that uses some of the same psychology as the schools and the big establishment uses, but instead of just giving you stuff that might not actually be as useful and that might not actually make you money, because you don't, even in finance, you learn finances, but you don't necessarily learn how to make money in school. So they're actually providing you how it is that these people who are very successful think, and also things that they're currently doing, and it's often not just them. It's usually based on data and other people's testimonials and people who work with them in their company, and then other experts who also talk. A lot of these people, they do interviews and they get interviewed. So you don't want to just look at things on the surface. You want to look a little bit deeper. So back to that point. So there's the aspect of right in the middle, which is kind of how he puts it, Russell Brunson. Right in the middle is kind of the mainstream, and then on the extremes it's kind of wild. So when you're doing your business or when you're marketing yourself, and if you're just totally mainstream, it means that you're talking about stuff everybody knows, everybody understands, and it's very common knowledge. That they just learned in elementary school. Everybody learned it. So that's not really going to be a viable. It may be very useful information and so on, but it's not going to bring anything new to the table. It doesn't give you a reason to exist as a business, and so therefore there's not going to be much of a market for it. And so if you're on the other side of the table and you're going to the extreme, that means what happens is you're too out there. You're just too much. And that's why I brought up Tai Lopez, because I say the way he puts it, which is very interesting. He says you could be a nudist, and you're just a nudist, and that's your thing. And people might accept that if that's just your one awkward quirk, or you might have not be a nudist, but you're a Buddhist, and that's a bit odd. In terms of North America, it's not everybody who's a Buddhist, right? But he said you don't want to be a nudist Buddhist, which means you don't want to be too far out there, or else people will just not accept it anymore, or less likely to. Of course, some people are going to more accept it, but he's just pointing out that if you're in business, you don't want to go too far out there. And it's funny because I found the parallels in those points between those two, and they're both really successful at right now in online marketing, digital media, kind of businesses for information products, and helping people who are selling any kind of product out there. So it's just awesome. And actually, Russell Brunson is an interesting story. If you learn about him, he tells a story a lot, especially at the beginning in a lot of his earlier stuff that you'll learn from him. And this book is no exception. He talks about a potato gun. He was building potato guns, and he was trying to figure out how to sell them, and that's his classic story. He has a bunch of other little stories, things that happened before that, things that happened after that, but that's usually the one he tends to focus on his main stage talks, especially some of his earlier ones, where he wanted to figure out how to sell it, and that's how he learned about these sales funnels online. So what's a sales funnel? In case you don't know, sales funnel is basically, I've seen it explained, I think in an infographic or some kind of video like that, about, it's basically taking you through every step of the sales process, right? Like as if you had a salesperson with you, going through, from the beginning, your questions you have, things helping you, guiding you to, each option presented, and then, trying to see what works best for you, and then helping you with what kind of transaction you're going to take, and what kind of contract, if any, and all of that, and then just writing it up, finalizing it, doing the receipt, doing the invoice, doing the receipt, getting the payment through, getting the record in, having the person's all their stuff taken care of, making sure they're getting what they're supposed to get to have, keep them in touch with the customer service and all that. So basically, so anyway, the point that you learn is that you don't want to go to the extreme. You don't want to be too far out there with your product. You don't want to be too much a niche of a niche of a niche, and you don't want to be too mainstream. You don't want to be just doing the same shit, same thing that everybody else is doing. Mind my French. But so basically you want to be right in the middle, and that's usually where all the money is basically what he's saying. That's usually where the market is, that's where the people are, that's where the value is, that's where people care, that's where there's actually a lot of activity going on, that's where there's a lot of opportunity, that's where a lot can be done, even if you're not into profit based businesses. Let's say you're purely just not for profit, you're purely activist, it's the same. If you want to convince people and sell people, this is all marketing. You want to convince people of your mission and your goal and where you're trying to go and where you're trying to be, then you're really gonna want to listen to people who are successful at it. And that's what they're saying. Like, multiple people are saying this. So I'm just trying to say that these books are actually really really informative, and this one included. I'm just trying to pull out of my head, what I learned from this book, and there's just so much stuff in here, yet it all ties together very well. He does a really excellent job of basically giving you a lot of general concepts at the beginning, and then he slowly builds up on them, and it gets finer and finer and finer, all the way down to the last detail of how his funnels work and why he makes them work that way, and why he makes his script that way, why he even does the online seminar, also known as webinars, why, based on case studies, his stories of what happened with his business, what he noticed with other people's business, and a lot of it actually, his whole sort of style is to do reverse engineering, not in a legal way, but in a legit way, where you, just a smart way, where you take a look at the market that you're trying to hit, and then you reverse engineer what people who are already succeeding in that market are doing. And you also, participate and build relationships with people who already are close with your market and so on. And that's actually at the end of the book. He goes into that, and that's part of the driving traffic stuff. But his funnels are amazing. I want just to tell you why I even bought this book in the first. Like, yeah, I know it's like it's not expensive. It's in the field I'm interested in and all that stuff. But there's more to it than that. I mean, the thing that really got to me was just the way he was presenting his stuff and the kind of information he was offering and just how much value it was. And I could really recognize that as someone who's, you know, like I said, I've started like getting into this stuff like over 10 years ago. So I saw the way how he was taking it on to the next level. He was taking the sales funnels thing, which I first saw maybe like in 2008 or something, but it's been around longer than that. Like it's been around since the late 90s or something. But I mean, I sort of started like recognizing it as a thing about that time. And the late O's or whatever, but what's it called? It wasn't. It was kind of still crude at the time. Even then, it was not as nice and polished as some of these people, like these guys I'm talking about, are doing. Like you know, a lot of these guys. You'll see these influencers. They're very strong, and I don't even have to drop any more names. Like you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. Especially if you learn from a guy like this, then you'll have like a new vision and sight. See, the thing, I already knew about this stuff, so this is just more like clarifying the vision I already had, and also giving me some, you know, real tools and tips, proven strategies, proven techniques, and mindsets, philosophies, and reasons, and just ways of thinking and ways of going about things, considerations, and so on, to basically just enrich my already, you know, thorough understanding and familiarity and just interaction and involvement with that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I think if you don't know anything about sales funnels and stuff, it's great because it's going to basically tell you from the beginning to the end. Like that's how the book is written. It's really cool in that sense. But if you do know like a lot about sales funnels and stuff, it's probably even better. Either way, it's actually good because if you don't know anything about it, you read it once and you'll learn about it. I figure you wouldn't really understand everything. Maybe you would, but it depends on what kind of person you are. If you learn a lot, you're good at learning, maybe you'll figure it out. But you might have to read it a second time if you had never heard about this kind of stuff before. But chances are you have, at least a little bit. But either way, if you haven't, you'll learn it, and then you might need to read it again so that you get the whole next level of what he's trying to say in there. And yeah, and then I think you're going to get a lot of value. Is it one of these books where, you know, you should read it time and again? I would say it's an excellent, after you read it through and you understand basically what's going on, and you have a better idea of what the more advanced stuff is as well, then I think it's a great reference book, an amazing reference book. And he has these really great sort of, how do I say it? They're kind of like infographics, but they look like little cartoons, kind of like stick figures of messages, and they're all throughout the book as well. And he has like sort of billboards and cards. Like he gives you some as well. If you like, you see like these little sort of, you can see that these little sort of, yeah, bookmarked as well. These little sort of stick figure type things, really cute drawings. They're all throughout, and they really help to they really help to illustrate what he's trying to say, and it makes it really easy to absorb the information. So yeah, it's fantastic. I think I recommend it if you have any kind of interest in doing business where it involves any kind of marketing in any kind of modern sense, online especially, digitally. But I mean, he's trying to implement a lot of the classic marketing stuff into the current digital sphere, knowing all the stuff that we already know about selling online through like independent businesses and so on, or any kind of businesses really. I mean, a lot of these guys, the thing is, I noticed this, a lot of people who are into the sales funnels, what they're doing, it's not like MLM or anything. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It's, don't get it confused. MLM is something else completely. Like, it could be, you could use it for an MLM, but it's not, it doesn't matter. You could be selling t-shirts or something. It really makes no difference. You could be selling pens. You know what I mean? I mean, you can use similar strategies through maybe not, let's say, a custom funnel or a funnel, through one of these websites or blogs systems, but, just through other services that are out there, like big retail companies and so on, like Shopify, Amazon, and all these kind of companies online that you could, sell stuff through if you want. So there's many viable businesses, but a lot of these kind of overlap and intersect, and when if you find something that works in one and you see that there's a parallel, it's also working in the other, then there's a principle behind there that is really good. And I'm telling you that this guy, I knew that this from watching his videos and seeing his ads and actually seeing these funnels in action, like going through his websites and clicking through and seeing like how he does everything, really, really impressed me, considering I already knew about this stuff. And I just felt it was so, how do I say, fresh and polished, and just he was very good in speaking. His stories are excellent. The information he gives out is top notch. He gives you really high quality value right off the top, just totally free, and that's part of how he sucks you in, but I mean, that's the thing, but that's great. You don't have to buy anything, you can just listen to the guy, listen to it, and like re-listen to his videos again and again, his ads, and you can learn a lot. Actually, at the beginning, that's what I did with Ty Lopez. I wouldn't buy anything from him. I would just listen to his whole seminars through and just decide for myself like what I thought. And then after a long time, after many of these several hour things, only then did I start to consider, maybe getting some educational stuff from him. And so it was the same with him. You can just listen to his stuff. I listened to some of his stuff, and it wasn't right away that I ended up getting this book or any of that stuff. So that's what I'm trying to say, that this book, I wasn't just like, oh, look, there's this book, boom, I'm gonna get it. It's funny, another one of these large influencers in the same sphere, this is Grant Cardone. He has this big, for one of his advertisements, he has this thing that he says, which is really interesting. He says, the best decision, if you think about it, the best decisions you make in your life were done in an instant. And it's funny because, like, if I think about that honestly, there are some cases where, yeah, I guess he's right. There are some cases where the best decision I made was instant. But there are also cases, and probably more cases, where that's not the fact. So that's the interesting thing. But yeah, so usually it's, it depends on the case, or it's some combination or something in between. And I think this book, it was kind of like that for me. I felt that, I kind of already knew about it. It wasn't something I was like, boom, right away. I knew right away, oh, this is it. But it wasn't something that I was like, suspicious of either, because I already kind of know about this space and stuff. I just kind of try to take it as it is, as I think most people should take most things. That's my opinion. You don't have to, that's whatever, you have your own opinion. Whatever you think is fine. But yeah, so yeah, as long as you're focused on your perspective, that's my perspective. So anyway, just to wrap this up, I don't want to go on too long. Yeah, because I'm running out of batteries on my camera here. Maybe I should keep going. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. I've decided I'm gonna wrap this up. So yeah, let's wrap this up. I'm gonna give this book just to not make it too easy to get 100%. And maybe I don't know if I'll ever give anything 100%, but we'll give it like about a 4.5 out of 5 stars, because I think that this book is pretty much invaluable. You pretty much need to have it if you're actually serious on any level about digital marketing, and most likely you already have it. If you are, and you know like enough, and you already know about Russell, most likely you have this book or his other book, .com Secrets, which I think I also want to get that too after reading this one. You're definitely going to want it, and if you even have like just a little bit of interest, and this is actually a really good place to start, because not only does he make it easy for you to understand, it's extremely current, like it's very cutting edge, because this guy, he's doing it right now, and he's doing very well at it. Yet at the same time, it's based on like traditional marketing principles, and he has the experience, like his own experience, like I think over 10 years doing this kind of stuff successfully and helping others to do it, and even has his own technology on top of that. Now, I'm not saying, oh, you should use this technology or whatever, ClickFunnels, you may have heard of it. I don't use ClickFunnels because I have a different background, And I wasn't, because a lot of what ClickFunnels is trying to do is it's for people who aren't as into the technical stuff and they don't know how to develop as well, but they want the advantage of these kind of sales funnels and being able to do that kind of stuff. Whereas somebody like me, I can look at just these cute drawings that he does, these infographics of stick figures, and know what to do with making websites and stuff, because I have a technical background and I already am using different systems. But for people who don't have that kind of background, it's definitely a good option. It's definitely an excellent option that he's offering out there for people who want to do business online. Of course, there's tons of options out there, but it's one of the top two out there. I think most people are using either the ClickFunnels now. It's gotten very, very successful. Like I said, these guys are doing well, and WordPress is also doing it. See, WordPress is open source. His is closed source in the sense that you gotta pay a monthly fee for his thing. But then again, if you're not good in technical stuff, you're gonna save tons of money versus paying someone to do the technical work for you. Not trying to downgrade technical person. Actually, I prefer to know the technical stuff so I could just do it myself and do it how I want. But there's definitely an advantage. He definitely knows what he's talking about, definitely knows what he's doing, definitely a recommended book. Definitely think you should check it out if you have any remote interest in these things. And what can I say? This is an excellent book, and I gotta recommend it. This is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, and this has been the first episode of the Production Hackers Book Review Podcast. I've been Sharif with ProductionHackers.com. I hope you had a funky good time, and we're gonna take it higher. Ooh, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna jam out to this, and I'll catch y'all next time. Take care.